know that acting impulsively in the area of transitioning can have irreversible consequences. At the same time, society pressures us to stay silent, not to change and to follow its rules, mostly unwritten ones, by controlling our lives. In the end, we become stuck between those two poles, just waiting and wasting our time. Hi, I'm Kira, a transgender woman sharing my experience of transitioning from male to female. While I was writing this script, I caught myself thinking that I was afraid for no reason before making the decision to transition. It all turned out much better than I expected in many aspects. If I had the chance to make this decision the second time, knowing everything what would happen next, I would have done it immediately without any hesitation. But I can only say this now, knowing how my life has changed. But back then it was a terrifying thought that scared me to the deepest parts of my mind. It was really hard to realize that there was no way back, and I had only two options. The first one was to transition, blindly believing in a happy ending. The second was to do nothing, and to suffer every single day realizing that I'm completely different from the person everyone, including myself, saw me as. Using terminology, this difference is called incongruence. In the case of transgender people, it is specifically gender incongruence. Vocabulary tells us that congruent means similar to or in agreement with something, so that the two things can both exist or can be combined without problems. Incongruence is the opposite. Two things can't exist without problems. They block, neglect, and even harm each other. Gender incongruence is a persistent mismatch between experienced gender and the sex assigned at birth. Well, it perfectly describes what I experienced. I was assigned male at birth. I had male body. I was raised as a boy. But all my feelings, emotions, reactions, and identity, they were female. My mind was struggling, living in the wrong body and being perceived as the wrong gender. I knew there was a problem, a big problem that was keeping me from living a normal life. And I knew the only possible solution: transitioning, both medically and socially. Medical transition was necessary to change my body. Social transition was essential for me to freely behave and present as a woman. So I had a pretty clear roadmap of what and how to do to help myself. But for multiple reasons, I couldn't take that first step. I began exploring myself and finding a way out, starting from my childhood. Recently, I had a conversation with my psychology professor at university. We were discussing the topic of self-development and what makes people change and grow. One part of the discussion related to congruence. I asked him what signs of incongruence might be visible from childhood. His answer was simple: convenience. I was a very convenient child. I never rebelled. I never caused problems for my relatives. My grades were always high. I followed all the rules, and I believed in every single social norm. Deep down I knew that I didn't truly agree with those norms, and that they were harmful for me. But I was praised for my compliance, and my fear of breaking the rules was constant. I wasn't afraid of punishment, but of the very act of going against the rules. Frankly, punishment wasn't even required in my case, because fear completely controlled me. I guess at that time I was afraid of shame, of being abandoned, and of being thrown out of society because I was different. I heard multiple times from my relatives that they never saw any signs of my struggles living in the wrong body when I was a child. There was a very good reason for that. I was predictable, easy to convince, and fit neatly into others' needs and plans. I listened and obeyed. In other words, I was convenient. Of course, this made life easier for everyone, and no one had any motivation to figure out what was really going wrong. I followed this model into adolescence, choosing a more prestigious faculty, or the one that I actually wanted. The feeling of representing my whole family dominated my own needs. No one told me directly what to do, but in my head there was no question about which path to choose. The same pattern continued in adulthood. I blindly followed social norms and gender roles in my marriage, and for a long time refused to acknowledge that I was destroying myself. It wasn't anyone's fault, including my own. I don't blame anyone. It was just the way that things went in my life before I started really listening to myself. Obviously, you can ask, how this is related to me stopping myself from deciding to transition. This behavioral pattern was present in all aspects of my life, including transitioning. My main motivation was someone else's beliefs, norms, and interests. The very thought of listening to myself was terrifying. I saw it as selfish, even a betrayal of my loved ones. Their well-being always came first, and subconsciously I sacrificed myself. Considering social norms, I thought that having a transgender child, spouse, or a friend was unwanted and something horrible. My loved ones might be ashamed of me, and my decision to transition would impact their lives. And yes, it did impact them. Some of them don't tell others about my changes and try not to mention anything about me in their conversations. They avoid discussing my transition with me, pretend that nothing has happened, and build walls in our communication. Others behaved the opposite way. Our relationships became stronger. We talk openly and we're not afraid to share our emotions and feelings. I read a lot about others' experience of how their lives changed after transition, so I was aware of the consequences. I wasn't entirely ready for them, but I knew anything could happen from full abandonment to full acceptance. But do the reactions of other people to my decision actually matter to me? Yes, because they're part of my life. Can their reactions change my decision? No, not anymore. They only can make my life harder or easier. They can choose to support and stay in my life, or to break any contact with me. I did my best to maintain good relationships with everyone from my past life. But in relationships, there are always two sides involved, and choices of both should be respected. They should respect my decision, and in my turn, I should respect their choices and how communication will change. The same goes for responsibility. We're all responsible only for our actions, and there is only one real judge: ourselves. We will never please everyone 100%. People will always find flaws in us and blame, or be disappointed for not meeting their expectations. That realization came to me alongside maturity. Transitioning is not just about the closest people in our lives, but also about society. Unfortunately, this topic is still widely ostracized. We hear a lot of different arguments from all sides, starting from "it was the way how you were created" and "you're committing a sin," and ending with "you're sick and you will never be like us." We can hear it throughout all of our lives in different scenarios: at work, college, the gym, the store, and a big, sometimes most visible one, comes from the internet. I will make another long video about building relationships with society during transition and how it can change our lives. While I was writing the script, I made a brief research about how to make decisions in general, not only in the topic of transgender transition. Almost every source gave the advice to write down the benefits and downsides of the decision you want to make. I can talk a lot about the benefits, but in the end they all boil down to only one concept: happiness and contentment because of becoming congruent. Downsides are very individual, and they touch many aspects of our life. We should choose between those consequences of our decision. In my case, the number of negative ones was much bigger than benefits, but the intensity and importance of becoming congruent exceeded everything else. I couldn't function normally anymore. My thoughts were always coming back to the idea of transitioning. I couldn't focus on important things and spend quality times with my loved ones. In other words, it was existence, but not life. In my case, it was not only an emotional, but also a rational decision. After analyzing my being and my feelings, I could clearly name and describe my problem. It's very important to understand what makes you feel bad, and to name it with specific and right wording. This way, you will know what enemy you are facing. The second stage was finding the solution. I tried compensating for my struggles with other activities: job, education, sports, hobbies, but none of it solved the problem. I still felt bad with the body I had, with gender role I had, and with social perception I had. I tried to avoid transitioning by any means because of the negative outcomes, but everything was pointing to choosing that path. After reading to other people's stories, finding scientific research, and thinking for a very long time, I was left on my own. No one could help me or give me advice. Frankly, I'm grateful for that, because such decisions should be made only by yourself. It is a life-changing thing, and only you can decide what is best for you and be responsible for that. There was an inevitable perspective of making this decision. I clearly understood that I'm a transgender woman and transitioning is the only possible way out for me. I had already researched enough about transitioning, and there was no point in continuing those explorations and gathering information. The only resource I had was my time, and I was wasting it by waiting for something to happen or to be fully ready. Now it's pretty clear to me that you can't have enough time to be fully ready for such changes, and you can't think about every detail. Life will definitely make it the other way. So I had everything I needed. I named my enemy and I knew how to fight it. I didn't want to waste any more time, so I made the decision to start transitioning. The first period of transition is the scariest. You can never be sure whether you made the right decision until you see any evidence for that. Doubts are constantly dragging you back to your bad, but very familiar and seemingly safe past. Thoughts that you made a bad decision fill your mind. During the first period, the intensity of changes in your life skyrockets, and that can be overwhelming. Your old being is no longer the same, and it's quite normal to experience loss. Until you notice the first effects of HRT or shifts in societal perception, you're only losing without getting anything in return, and it can be scary. You know you're spending time, money, and effort without any results. For some people, the moment of noticing the first effects of medical transition comes right after taking their first dose of HRT. For others, it takes some time. But in any case, those changes are very important to prove that you made the right decision. The same goes for social transition. Once you're being gendered correctly, being referred to by your chosen name, and people use the right pronouns, you see the evidence. It's very important to give yourself some time between making the decision to transition and seeing its results. It's quite normal to feel scared, lost, frustrated, anxious, and to be filled with doubts. But this period will pass. You will feel congruent and content. I want to emphasize one thing. Be realistic in your expectations. Gender dysphoria isn't likely to disappear completely. It's quite common to experience roll-offs and have the feeling of wasting your time and ruining your life for nothing. But with time of transitioning, you will feel it less often, and you will learn new healthy coping mechanisms to stand against it. Transitioning will not directly solve your financial struggles, health issues, or improve your relationships, but it can give you the necessary tools like the right body and congruent mind to do it. But then it's only up to you how to use them and change your life. What am I doing now and how I stopped self-sacrificing? That is the easiest and at the same time the hardest thing. I listen to myself and I live now, in the present. We've all heard these pieces of advice from coaches and trainers, and for me it was just a set of meaningless words. What does it mean to listen to yourself? Ask yourself questions and honestly answer them. Learn how to describe emotions and feelings and use appropriate wording. Don't hide your ugly sides and don't be afraid of them. Being clear, open, and honest to yourself is the key point of self-acceptance. And in conclusion, making decisions, even the hardest ones, by yourself. Our personality is constantly balanced between unconscious, impulsive side and our conscious beliefs. On one side, there is our inner child wanting something here and now, and on the other, society imposing limitations and telling us what to do. In moving toward either side, we often fear making the decision. We don't know what we're waiting for, but making the next step seems unmanageable. Maybe we're waiting for a sign, for reaching a breaking point, or for someone to tell us to stop being afraid and to finally move forward. This waiting time can last for years, and sometimes the entire lifetime pass without us making the decision. We only live once, and we never know how our lives would have turned out in other scenarios. We don't know what might have happened if we were born into different families, chose other professions, or had different bodies. But we do know what we have in present. In making this decision, there is no guarantee of success or failure. No one knows what the future holds. You can only predict and hope. If you think waiting means you're not making a decision, you're mistaken. Waiting is also a decision not to change and to accept the current reality. You are simply going with the flow. How does my life look now after making the decision to transition? I'm surrounded by people close to me who allow me to be myself. No more roles, no more sacrifices. Now I know that I have enough inner resources and nothing stops me from improving my life. I'm responsible for my actions and I don't find any excuses anymore. Take your time, but not wait any longer than you truly need. Find your balance and make your decision. I want to say that I read all your comments and I want to know more about your thoughts, feelings and experience of making the decision to transition. So I hope to see you and continue discussing this important topic in the comment section below. Thank you for being with me. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and see you soon in my next video. Bye.